The planet of Vera was a place full of strange colors and tall forests. Its sky had a soft pink glow that never went dark. The people of Vera lived by old rules made long ago by their priests. These priests were very powerful. They told everyone what was right and wrong, and no one dared to disobey them. Lyraya was a young alien girl from Vera. She had soft blue skin and bright green eyes that showed kindness and curiosity. Unlike most on her planet, she did not like the strict rules that stopped people from learning new things or meeting others from different worlds. She often wondered if there was more to life than the priests allowed. One morning, a crowd gathered in the large square of the village. The priests wore long robes with shining symbols, and their faces were serious. They carried out a special ceremony, but this one was different. Lyraya was brought out from her home, her hands gently held by guards. The crowd was quiet but watched carefully. The chief priest, a tall man with silver hair, spoke loudly. Lyraya is accused of breaking the sacred law. She showed mercy to a stranger, a forbidden act. The law must be followed, or chaos will come. Lyraya's heart beat fast. She looked around at the crowd and saw many faces she knew. Friends, neighbors, even children. But no one moved. They were afraid of the priests. A group of priests gently pushed Lyraya down to the ground. She lay on the cold stone floor, feeling scared but still calm inside. The priests began the punishment ritual. They wanted to remind everyone that no one should break their rules. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the edge of the square. A man walked quickly through the crowd. He looked different. His skin was pale, his clothes simple but clean. His name was Cole, a human traveler who had recently arrived on Vera. Cole had been exploring the forests when he heard the noise and the whispers of the crowd. He saw Lyraya pinned on the ground and the angry priest standing over her. Confused, he stepped forward and asked loudly, "What is happening here?" The crowd shifted uncomfortably. A few people whispered among themselves. Humans were rare on this planet, and many did not trust them. The priests looked at Cole with cold eyes. The chief priest said, "This is none of your business, human. Leave now, or you will share her fate." Cole did not back down. "I don't understand. Why is she being treated like this? She did something wrong?" One of the priests stepped closer and said, "She showed kindness to an outsider. That is forbidden. She must be punished for breaking our sacred laws." Cole looked at Lyraya. Her eyes met his, filled with a quiet hope. She whispered softly, "Please help me. They fear what is different." Cole's heart moved. He could see the unfairness. Without thinking more, he stepped between Lyraya and the priests. "You must stop. Punishing her will only cause more harm." The priests hissed and raised their hands to stop him, but Cole was faster. He grabbed Lyraya's arm and helped her stand. The crowd gasped. The chief priest shouted, "Guards, take him away!" But some of the villagers, inspired by Cole's courage, stepped forward. "Let them go," one said. "We should listen." The priest hesitated, shocked by this. Cole took a deep breath and said, "I am not here to fight you. I just want to help. Your people deserve to live without fear." Lyraya nodded. "There is more to our world than old rules. We need to learn and grow." Cole and Lyraya moved away from the crowd toward the edge of the village. People watched them, some curious, some afraid. Later, Cole asked, "Why do your priests punish kindness?" Lyraya looked up at the pink sky. "Because they fear change. They want to keep control. But many of us want something better." Cole smiled. "Then maybe it's time for a new beginning." Cole led Lyraya along a narrow path that left the stone streets behind and slipped into the bright leaf forest beyond the village wall. Pink and gold sunlight seamed through the high branches, turning the air warm and sweet, but both of them kept looking over their shoulders. The song of small birds could not hide the distant clang of temple bells. Those bells meant the priests had started a hunt. Cole spoke first, keeping his voice low. "We need a safe place before dark. Do you know somewhere the priests won't search?" Lyraya nodded, though her legs shook from the long walk. "There's an old watchtower from the time before the priests ruled. Few remember it now. We can rest there." They pressed on. Each time a twig snapped behind them, Leraya's heart jumped. Yet no guards appeared. Many villagers secretly questioned the priests but dared not speak. Perhaps those same doubters slowed the search on purpose. At last, moss-covered stones peeked through the trees. The tower leaned, broken at the top, but its base still stood strong. A dented iron door lay half buried in fallen leaves. Cole cleared the debris and pushed the door inward. Rust grated. Then the door surrendered with a soft groan. Inside, gray, light spilled across an empty circular room. Vines curled along cracked walls and an old staircase spiraled upward into shadow. "It's not perfect," Cole said, "but no one will guess we are here." They stepped inside, closing the door. Cole gathered loose sticks and started a small, smokeless fire in the hearth's remains. Orange light settled their nerves. While the fire warmed them, Leraya unwrapped a cloth bundle tied to her belt. Inside lay a smooth, pale crystal no larger than a child's fist. Faint inner sparks pulsed like a calm heartbeat. Cole's eyebrows lifted. "Is that the healing stone?" "Yes," she whispered. "The priests call it cursed because it comes from the old world, the one with free learning and open travel. But it can save lives." She touched the stone to a cut on her ankle. In moments, the broken skin sealed without pain. Cole stared, amazed. "Why hide something so good?" he asked. "Because knowledge weakens fear," Leraya answered. "If common folk learn to heal without priests, the priests lose power." Cole poked the fire, thoughtful. "Where I come from, some leaders also fear free minds. That fear always grows into chains." Footsteps outside cut the talk short. Cole doused the flame, and both crouched behind a fallen beam. Voices filtered through the forest night. Guards speaking in low tones, arguing about split trails. One complained about searching ruins that ghosts surely haunted. Another insisted they return before curfew bells. At last, the voices faded. Cole let out a slow breath. "We cannot stay long," he said. "They will search again with torches." Leraya rose. "Then we move before dawn. But first, the people must know the truth. There is a hidden vault beneath the temple holding old records, scrolls and images that prove the priests' twist history. If we show those records to everyone, they will understand." Cole's eyes sharpened. "You risked your life once. I cannot let you face that alone. We steal those records together." A gentle glow filled the tower as moonlight pierced a crack in the wall. Leraya's tired face glimmered with hope. For the first time since her arrest, she smiled. The next morning, before the pale sun crested the treetops, Cole and Leraya left the watchtower. They followed dry riverbeds to mask their prints and reached a quiet part of the village wall. Nearby, small houses still slept. Using vines as ropes, Cole climbed first. From the top, he extended a hand and pulled Leraya up. Together they dropped inside the silent streets. They kept to alleys until the grand temple appeared ahead, white stone pillars circling a high dome, banners fluttering in pastel wind. 2 guards stood at the main gate, spears crossed. Cole pointed to a side door partly hidden by a garden of blue flowers. They waited until the guards looked away, then slipped across. Inside, long corridors smelled of incense. Echoes threatened to betray them with every step. Leraya guided Cole to a narrow stairwell that spiraled down. At the bottom, a heavy bronze tucker blocked the vault. Strange runes glittered across its surface. "I can read these," Leraya whispered. "They are from the old alphabet." She traced 3 symbols: light, wisdom, free. The lock clicked open. The vault air was cool and dry. Shelves brimmed with tablets, scrolls, and crystal memory cubes. In the center stood a dusty projector. Cole wiped its lens, placed a cube inside, and pressed a rune. A shimmering image filled the room. A council of early Veyran speaking peacefully with human explorers, sharing science and art under twin moons. No chains, no fear, only friendship. Cole's chest tightened. So the priest's story of humans bringing plague and war is a lie? Leraya gathered more cubes and scrolls into a satchel. "We show these during tonight's moon festival. All citizens will be in the square. If the truth shines on the big sky screen, The priests cannot silence everyone at once. Footsteps echoed above. A guard's voice rang down the stairwell. Who opened the vault? Cole shut off the projector. Time to leave. He scanned the vault for another exit and noticed an old ventilation shaft. Too tight for a grown guard, but roomy enough for them. They pried the grate loose and crawled into darkness. Cool metal scraped their elbows as they shuffled forward. Behind them, the bronze door slammed open and angry voices roared. Lariah pressed on, ignoring fear. At last the shaft opened onto a small courtyard behind the temple kitchens. They tumbled out among barrels of herbs and quickly blended with morning delivery workers pushing carts. By midday, Cole and Lariah reached the rebels' hidden meeting place under a carpenter's shop. 20 villagers waited, young scholars, old farmers, and even a timid temple acolyte. All shared one thing, a spark of doubt against the priests. Cole laid the satchel on a wooden table. Tonight we play these records on the sky screen, but we need to keep the priests from cutting the power. A tall woman, once a city engineer before the priests banned open study, tapped a map. I can guard the generator. 2 others will. Help. Good, Cole said. Everyone else guide the crowd's eyes to the screen and keep calm. No weapons, only truth. Lariah placed the healing stone on the table so all could see. This saved lives, yet they called it cursed. Imagine how many other wonders they hid. Friends, tonight is not about revenge. It is about light. A hush fell as each rebel felt the weight of coming hours. Some trembled, yet hope warmed the room more than fear chilled it. Cole clasped Lariah's hand. We started as 2, he said. Now we are many. The priests still have swords, but we have stories. Stories no blade can cut. Outside, distant, bells rang noon. Evening would arrive sooner than any heart felt ready. But hearts had already changed, and that, Cole believed, was how every great uprising began. Evening settled over Vera like a calm, rose-colored blanket. Paper lanterns floated between the tall stone arches of the village square, bathing everything in gentle light while music drifted from reed flutes. The annual moon festival was always the priests' proudest moment. It let them remind the people that tradition, not change, guided every step under the pink sky. Families filled the square, children sat on fathers' shoulders, and everyone waited for the giant sky screen. Wide sheets stretched between towers to show the temple's usual stories. Behind a shuttered storehouse 2 streets away, Cole, Lariah, and the rebels checked their equipment one last time. The stolen crystal cubes lay in a padded box. Wires ran from a small projector to a portable power pack, and a simple push button. Remote rested in Cole's hand. His pulse beat so loudly he feared it might shake the crates around them. Remember, Lariah whispered, her voice steady. The priests will wait to strike until they know what we are doing. Surprise is our shield. She wore a gray cloak to hide her blue skin, and the healing stone hung at her neck like a silent promise. An apprentice priest named Callan hurried in, robe flapping. Only the rebels knew he had turned against the temple after reading forbidden scrolls. Callan's task was the hardest: slip their cable into the sky screen feed room without anyone noticing. He swallowed, nodded once, and disappeared into the festival crowd. At the generator house on the far edge of the square, engineer Mara stood guard with 2 helpers. They carried only wooden poles, tools, not weapons, yet their faces showed iron resolve. If the priest tried to cut the power, Mara would keep the engine running even if it cost her freedom. The main bells chimed. High Priest Varen climbed the ceremonial platform and raised his gilded staff. His voice rolled across the square. Citizens of Vera, tonight we rejoice in purity and unity. The crowd cheered on cue, though some clapped, only out of habit. Varen signaled his operators to start the screen. Nothing happened at first. Then, instead of the usual temple emblem, a bright council chamber appeared. Humans and Varens seated as equals, sharing food and laughter. Gasps rippled through the square. Varen spun toward the feed tower, fury flashing in his eyes. "Shut that image down," he barked. Up in the tower room, Callan yanked his hood lower and locked the panel. Outside, Cole pressed the second button. A new scene filled the sky. Priests from a century ago hiding crates of healing stones, swearing, secrecy so the people would depend on temple cures. Murmurs turned to angry shouts. Mothers clutched sick children and cried. Varen signaled temple guards. Armored figures pushed through the throng toward the screen tower, but villagers closed, ranks around them linking arms. A farmer spoke first, fearless. "Let the truth be shown." Others echoed him. At the generator house, a junior priest tried to shut the fuel valve. Mara stepped in front of him. "Touch that lever and you answer to every family here," she said, voice calm but unbreakable. The priest hesitated, seeing workers gather behind her. Cole and Larea left the storehouse and moved closer to the platform. The final cube played. Footage of the present day, Varen ordering Lyraya's punishment while calling humans poison. Beside it stood the old treaty promising friendship. The hypocrisy was clear as sunrise. Varen's control cracked. He waved his staff and shouted, "These images are lies forged by a heretic human." Yet his words sounded thin. Lyraya stepped onto the platform beside him, removing her cloak so the crowd could see her bruises. "I was punished for helping a sick child," she said, voice carrying farther than any bell. "Ask yourselves if mercy is a crime." She lifted the healing stone. It shone softly, touching every face with gentle light. This gift could heal thousands. The priest hid it. Silence deepened. Then applause erupted until the square thundered. Guards lowered their weapons. Even a few priests backed away from Varen. Inside the feed tower, Callan heard fists pounding on the locked door. Sweat dripped down his neck as he wedged a metal rod under the handle. The hinges rattled but held. He kept his shaking finger on the switch, refusing to let the signal drop. One thought steeled his courage. If the screen went dark now, fear would return darker than before. Back at the platform, Varen lunged to seize the healing stone. Cole blocked him with a firm arm. "Enough," he said, the single word louder, then a shout. Varen stumbled backward, stunned that an unarmed outsider dared touch him. The crowd noticed. A young boy, inspired, climbed a post and tore down a priestly banner, waving it like a rag ready for the wash. Laughter burst forth, sharp, freeing, unstoppable. Torches flickered at the square's edge as late-arriving soldiers saw the turning tide and stalled. Above them, the sky screen still showed images of unity. A beacon no sword could dim. In that breath, the old order wavered, balanced on the edge of dawn. Whether it fell toward peace or chaos would depend on the next steps each person chose to take. But for the first time in living memory, the priests no longer owned the story. A hush came over the square as the last festival lanterns burned low. In the half-light, everyone could see the power of choice resting in their own hands. The giant sky screen still glowed with images of past friendship, throwing soft colors onto worried faces. High Priest Varen stood frozen on the platform, his gold staff hanging useless at his side. Cole and Lyraya faced him from only a few steps away, their backs to a growing wall of villagers. Varen broke the silence first. "Citizens, do not be fooled. This human has twisted old memories to break our faith." His voice cracked at the edges. "Guards, seize them." The temple soldiers, rows of tall figures in polished breastplates, marched forward. Yet each step slowed when they met the crowd's eyes. Mothers held children close, farmers gripped worn tools, and aging scholars raised open scrolls as shields of truth. One guard at the front, a young woman named Rena, stopped altogether. She lowered her spear. The line behind her wavered. Cole lifted both hands so everyone could see he carried no weapon. "Listen to your own hearts," he called. "Ask why helping the sick was called a crime. Ask why the healing stones were hidden. You know the answers already." Beside him, Lyraya held the glowing stone up high. "This light heals," she said. "Let it guide us, not divide us." The gentle pulse from the crystal seemed to wash through the square, calming racing pulses and steadying frightened minds. Rena turned to the troops behind her and spoke quietly. "I pledge to protect our people." Hurting them now breaks that oath. She stepped out of formation and hurried over to Leria's side. As she did, a murmur of approval rolled across the square. Half the soldiers followed her example, dropping spears with soft clinks that sounded like the first notes of a new song. Varen's face grew red with fury. "Traitors, all of you!" He lifted his staff and slammed its base onto the platform. A burst of bright sparks crackled outward, a ceremonial flash meant to scare. But the crowd did not run. Instead, they closed in tighter, still peaceful, yet firm. The circle of ordinary citizens now surrounded the high priest and his few remaining loyal guards. In the feed tower, Callan heard cheers and guessed the people were standing firm. He unlocked the door at last and hurried down the stairs. He reached the platform just in time to see Varen try to swing his staff toward Cole. Callan shouted, "Stop!" and grabbed the shaft. The two struggled, but Varen's age betrayed him. The staff slipped free and clattered onto the wooden planks. Gasps rose, but no blade was drawn. The only power on that stage now was truth. A gray-haired villager named Orc shuffled forward, leaning on a cane. He had served the temple as a stonemason all his life. "High priest," he said softly, "for years you told us fear kept us safe. But fear only kept us small." His voice carried farther than its quietness should have allowed. "If you lead by fear, you lead no more." Oric bent, picked up the fallen staff, and placed it, gently, at Varen's feet. "Let today be the last day of chains." Varen stared at the staff as though it were a stranger. His shoulders sagged. All the force had gone out of him, like a strong wind that suddenly turned to a whisper. Two elder priests approached, not with anger, but with somber eyes. One said, "Brother, the people have spoken, our ways must change." Varen swayed and might have fallen, but Cole caught his arm. "No one here wants revenge," Cole said. "We want healing, of bodies and of trust." He steadied the older man until a priest guided Varen down the steps away from the growing crowd. A sigh of relief swept across the square. Mara, still guarding the generator, heard the distant cheer and allowed herself to smile for the first time that night. She kept the engine humming until sunrise, just in case. On the platform, Leria faced the sea of faces, some tear-streaked, some astonished, many hopeful. She took a steady breath. "We cannot erase every hurt by morning," she said. "But we can start. Tomorrow the temple doors will open. The scrolls and stones will belong to everyone. Learning will be free again." Cole added, "No one voice should rule forever. Choose leaders from among yourselves, people you trust, people who listen." He glanced at Reyna, at Oric, at Mara by the distant engine house. "Let many minds guide this world." The crowd answered with applause that rattled windows. Children waved lantern sticks like tiny stars. Couples held hands. Even a few priests bowed their heads, realizing the first steps into a new chapter had already begun. As midnight neared, villagers formed small groups to help one another home. Some guarded the sky screen so the images of truth stayed visible for any latecomer. Others gathered food and blankets for those who had stood in the square since dusk. Every act of kindness felt like a brick laid in the foundation of a kinder future. Under an ancient sycamore at the edge of town, Cole finally sat down. The night's weight pressed on him, but it was a good weight, proof that choices mattered. Leria sat beside him, still holding the softly glowing stone. Crickets chirped and a cool breeze carried the scent of distant rain. "Do you think change will last?" she asked, voice barely above the wind. "It will if enough people guard it," Cole replied. He looked toward the village where lanterns still flickered. "Fear is loud, but hope is patient. Hope keeps speaking even when voices grow tired." Leria smiled, her green eyes reflecting the crystal's light. "Then we will guard it together." Behind them, the first pale stripe of dawn painted the horizon. The priest's age-old rule had bent without a single sword drawn. In its place rose something fragile yet powerful, a promise that truth once shared could never be locked away again. The new day awaited, and with it, the hard work of rebuilding, but the hardest step was already taken. And across Vera, in homes and hearts, people whispered the same simple thought. If they could stand up tonight, so can I tomorrow. Morning light painted the roofs of Vera in soft gold. The old temple bells rang a calm, even tone, not a harsh order. Birds sang from high arches where banners of fear once hung. The long night of truth-telling had ended, but another long day of hard work had begun. Cole woke under the ancient sycamore where he and Larea had rested. Stiff muscles reminded him of every narrow escape, every hurried whisper in dark halls. Yet his heart felt light. He rose, brushed leaves from his coat, and walked toward the village square. There, townspeople already filled the space. Some swept broken lantern sticks. Others stacked stones to build a small stage. No one waited for orders. They spoke in gentle voices, settled friendly disputes, and shared hot cups of spiced root tea. Even temple guards, now without polished helmets, helped old villagers cross piles of debris. At the center, Larea stood beside Rena and the engineer Mara. Scrolls lay open on a long table, weighed down by smooth river rocks. Children crowded near, staring wide-eyed at colorful maps of stars and drawings of strange machines, gifts of knowledge hidden for too long. Cole joined them. How goes the work? Mara smiled, grease marking her cheeks. We're turning the holy granary into a public workshop. By tonight, the first free school will meet there. Rena added, we agreed the temple guards will become town protectors. No more secret arrests, only open service approved by the people. Cole nodded with pride. He looked for Varen, half expecting the former high priest to appear in fury. Instead, he found the older man seated apart under a stone arch. Two novice priests spoke quietly with him. Varen's shoulders were still bent, but his eyes held a calm acceptance Cole had not seen before. Even the mightiest wall can learn to bend, Cole thought. A sudden clamor arose near the main road. Villagers parted, and a battered hover cart rolled in, its small engine coughing smoke. The driver, a merchant named Tyla, shouted, "Travelers coming from the South Ridge. They saw temple loyalists blocking the pass." The mood dipped. Though the priest's rule had fallen in the village, distant outposts still followed old orders. Loyalists could rally and retake power if the town remained unprepared. Larea stepped onto a crate. Friends, freedom is no fruit you pick once and keep forever. It must be grown and guarded every day. We must greet those travelers with open arms, but also be ready to explain the changes. Cole glanced at Mara. Can we move the sky screen to the ridge road? Show the same images to anyone who enters? Mara rubbed her chin. With extra line wire and a portable generator, yes. It won't be grand, but it will be bright. Rena volunteered half the new town protectors. Farmers offered carts and strong backs. Children ran to fetch rope. Within an hour, a lively convoy rolled toward the southern pass, carrying the screen, projector, and several of the hidden records. Cole walked beside Larea at the front. Wind carried pink petals from flowering trees. He whispered, "Last night, we shattered the chain, but today we forged the bridge." Larea squeezed the healing stone around her neck. "And tomorrow perhaps we cross it." By midday, the convoy reached the ridge road. Rocky cliffs rose on each side, funneling travelers into a narrow opening. There, a group of 20 loyalist priests had set up a checkpoint complete with holy sigils and stern warnings. They looked uneasy when they saw villagers approach with carts, but they still blocked the path. Their leader, Priest Darvin, raised a staff. "This road belongs to the temple. Turn back." Cole greeted him with a respectful nod. "The temple now belongs to the people. We bring proof. Will you watch?" Darvin frowned, but curiosity flickered in his eyes. He allowed the convoy to set up. Mara's team stretched the sky screen between two rock pillars. The generator hummed and bright images danced across the fabric, scenes of the old alliance, the forbidden healing stones, and yesterday's peaceful stand in the square. The loyalists watched, mouths slowly falling open. Some whispered, recognizing elders long described as traitors. Darvin lowered his staff. "Why did Varen hide this?" Rena stepped forward, helm under her arm. "Fear. But fear no longer guides us. Join us. Help protect our people, all our people. Darwin looked at his followers. One by one, they placed their staves on the ground, a silent pledge of change. Tyla's cart of travelers cheered. Word of the Dawn Revolt would now travel down every road out of Vera. That evening, lanterns glowed again in the village square, but their shapes were different. Simple wooden frames, each carved with a single word: hope, learn, heal, share. Families sat on blankets while elders read aloud from the newly freed scrolls. Laughter mixed with thoughtful silence as strange new ideas settled into open minds. Farron approached the stage unguarded. The crowd fell quiet. He spoke in a low, steady tone. Yesterday I ruled by keeping wisdom locked away. Today I ask forgiveness by helping unlock it. He lifted a small chest. Inside lay the last stash of healing stones once hidden in his private chamber. He set the chest on the public table and stepped back. Applause rose, not loud but warm. A heavy chapter closed with a gentler page. Cole and Lariah climbed the stage together. Cole said, "I came here by accident, a traveler seeking supplies. I found a people who taught me what courage looks like. Soon I will return to the stars, but your story will go with me and other worlds will know Vera is free." Lariah addressed the children at the front row. "You will write the next stories. Ask questions. Share answers. Never let fear seal." Another door. Mara rang a handbell. "First lesson at the new workshop starts tomorrow. All ages, all questions welcome." The crowd clapped rhythmically, and music sprang up. Flutes mingled with the beat of hand drums. Lanterns lifted into the pink sky, drifting over rooftops like tiny suns. Cole watched them rise, feeling his own spirit rise too. He turned to Lariah. "Ready for whatever comes next?" She nodded, eyes bright. Ready, and never alone. They stood hand in hand as the lanterns climbed, each light a small promise that knowledge once shared could brighten every corner of the world. And for the first time in many generations, Vera's night felt not like an ending, but like the wide, welcoming doorway of a brand new day.